with my family, you know what I'm saying? I get to spend so much time with my amazing wife and my amazing daughter, and I'm just making the best out of it, you know what I'm saying? And we moving forward. And some good things are actually coming out of this. You know, we're going to have a new child real soon, you know?
Another one.
So, yes.
Ooh,
Wow,
congratulations.
Yes. So I'm feeling real good.
A lot of quarantine babies.
That Shakur Stevenson fight.
Yeah.
And then
You shook her hand and said you were a fan.
Yeah, I happened to be walking to my seat and
You happened to be.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, is that Claressa Shields? I've always been a fan of her.
Yeah, I got a video he sent me back in 2000 and was it 20 or something?
So he's been a fan. You get your moment to say I'm a fan.
Yeah, I see her, and when I went to shake her hand, I realized how beautiful she was. I was like, oh.
Let's talk about this situation carefully, because many people online are confused about what really happened in the complicated story involving Remy Ma, Papoose, Easy the Block Captain, and Claressa Shields. A large amount of the criticism has been directed toward Remy, with many viewers claiming that she betrayed her marriage first. Because of that belief, she has often been labeled the villain of the situation, while others involved have received less blame. However, when we slow down and study the timeline more closely, the situation appears far more complex than the simplified version many people are repeating. The internet moves quickly. Once a certain narrative becomes popular, it spreads across platforms and gets repeated so often that it begins to sound like proven fact. People start discussing the story based on feelings rather than on the order of events. That is why it is important to step back and look at what happened first, who was communicating with whom, and when different relationships may have begun. When those details are placed in order, the commonly accepted version of events becomes less certain. Many discussions online claim that Remy became involved with Easy the Block Captain only after learning that Papoose was connected to Claressa Shields. In that version, she is described as reacting emotionally, acting out of jealousy, or trying to get revenge. That interpretation has shaped the way people view her actions, and once that label was attached, everything she said afterward was often dismissed without careful examination. But the important question is whether the timeline truly supports that idea. Relationships rarely fall apart overnight. Most of the time, problems develop slowly over months or even years. When the public finally notices tension, the private issues that caused the breakdown may have already existed for a long time. This is why examining the sequence of events matters. Without that context, it is easy to assume that the first visible action was also the first mistake, even if earlier problems were already in motion. When listening to Remy speak about her current situation, something interesting becomes clear. She does not spend most of her time attacking anyone or trying to create revenge stories. Instead, she often talks about how she is being treated in her present relationship. She emphasizes respect, emotional support, and independence, pointing out that she is not financially carrying anyone or supporting someone who refuses to contribute. That distinction is important because it suggests she is not trying to show off. She is responding to claims that she is involved in an unhealthy or one-sided relationship. Remy has always been known as a hardworking individual. She has built businesses, participated in entertainment ventures, and helped create opportunities for other artists. People operating at that level usually do not want endless drama in their personal lives. Their schedules are filled with meetings, projects, and responsibilities, leaving little time for constant conflict. Because of this, some observers believe her comments were not meant to attack anyone, but rather to correct assumptions about her personal situation. There is also a broader conversation here about relationships and loyalty. Many people, especially those in long-term partnerships, are willing to support their partners through difficult times. They may provide emotional support, financial help, or public defense when their partner faces criticism. However, cheating often becomes the breaking point. It is not always the only issue, but it is the moment when someone may feel that all the effort they invested was not respected. That feeling can lead people to step away from the relationship, even if they previously tolerated other problems. To understand why the backlash unfolded the way it did, it helps to examine how the story developed online. At one point, rumors began circulating that Papoose had confronted Easy the Block Captain, and that his marriage with Remy was already struggling. As those rumors spread, many people quickly concluded that Remy was responsible.
Pat, everything I did, like, oh, she did this because of this person. she did that because of that person. If I wear my hair a certain way, if I wear some clothes, y'all say I'm copying somebody else. But then y'all say in the same breath, but she can't dress. Most of the stuff I go to the store and pick out myself and put it on. So I'm not copying nobody. But as far as in me rapping, go on my YouTube. I'm gonna put the link on here. I've been rapping for almost 3 years. I didn't just start this. I've been rapping. Why? Because I do what the hell I want to do. Like, I've been doing what I want to do forever. I got rap videos. I've been in the studio. I got songs. I had a listening party the week of my fight. I do what I want to do when I want to do it. Nobody is making me do anything. And I'm not trying to be like nobody because, baby, GWOAT is original. The GWOAT is original. I'm the first woman to ever use the word GWOAT. I'm original in everything I do.
Responsible for the breakdown. She was described as the person who damaged a long-standing relationship that many fans once admired. The emotional attachment people had to the image of that marriage made the reaction even stronger. Later, discussions intensified when messages were shared online that allegedly showed communication between Papoose and Claressa Shields. These messages, according to those discussing them, suggested that conversations may have started earlier than many people realized. Instead of presenting a clear winner or loser, the information raised more questions about when different connections actually began. Once people saw that the timeline might be more complicated, the earlier narrative no longer seemed as solid as before. Another detail that attracted attention was the suggestion that some communications between individuals dated back several years. Reports claimed that around 2020, friendly conversations were taking place between different parties involved, including exchanges of advice and supportive messages. At the same time, public appearances still presented the marriage as intact. When timelines overlap like this, it becomes difficult to point to one specific moment and declare it the beginning of the conflict. Discussions also suggested that Remy's relationship with Easy the Block Captain began later, around 2022, during a period when her marriage was reportedly already facing serious difficulties. Without knowing those details, many observers assumed her involvement with someone new happened while everything else was stable. Once additional context was introduced, the situation started to look less like a sudden betrayal and more like the result of a long period of tension. Another factor that added complexity was the claim that other relationships or connections may have existed behind the scenes. Whether every rumor is accurate or not, the presence of multiple stories made it difficult for people to agree on a single version of events. Instead of one simple explanation, the situation appeared to involve several overlapping issues that slowly led to the final public conflict. As the drama continued, social media conversations became louder, with supporters of different individuals defending their preferred version of the story. Some participants spoke publicly, while others remained mostly silent, allowing speculation to grow. When people do not receive clear answers, curiosity increases, and discussions continue for much longer than they otherwise might. When we step back and look at the entire sequence, it becomes clear that the real question is not only who looked worse in public, but when emotional or relational boundaries may have first been crossed. Once earlier conversations, private separations, and long-term tensions are considered, the situation appears far more complicated than the first headlines suggested. Another interesting detail discussed online involves comments made in interviews suggesting that certain individuals had been communicating years before the public believed they first met. Some statements mentioned exchanging creative messages such as poetry or videos long before the relationship was publicly acknowledged. If those details are accurate, they suggest that connections may have existed earlier than originally presented, which again complicates the idea that one single event caused everything.
When he realized that a regular that can rap, but just not the way we do it. By the way, he makes $50,000 per battle, has about 5-6 battles a year, so he makes at least $250,000 a year. You understand? Great credit score. I never seen a person with a credit score like this in my life, like the richest people that I've been around. But anyway, unlike some people who beg me to add their name to one of my properties and I have a lien on it because they don't pay their taxes. He couldn't believe and couldn't fathom why him. So why he's sitting there, she was saying, why Hitman, why Goods? Why you lying? You was devastated that a regular that used to work for sanitation, got a pension plan, got a 401k, that happens to rap, was able charm, your manipulation, was able to treat me nice. Not just because the camera's on, not just because people are watching, but because he genuinely felt like that. Not because I was paying his bills, not because I was taking care of his kids. And none of that. None of that. And then after I created my Battle League Chrome 23, I hope to make another Battle League that's popping. He signed himself to, he literally that day signed himself to Slitcherverse Records.
At the same time, reports indicated that some of the people involved were also communicating with each other in friendly ways during those earlier years. This overlapping interaction has led many observers to argue that the full story cannot be understood without acknowledging how long different conversations may have been happening behind the scenes. When those timelines are placed side by side, the situation becomes less about one sudden act and more about a gradual shift in multiple relationships over time. Public reaction is often shaped not only by facts but also by perception. The person who appears to disrupt a widely admired image may receive the strongest criticism, even if the problem started long before the public noticed. When fans have spent years viewing a couple as a symbol of loyalty, any visible change can trigger an emotional response. In such cases, the first person seen moving on may be blamed for everything, even if the relationship had already been struggling privately. Another reason opinions differ is the way individuals handle situations publicly. Some people respond by posting frequently, addressing rumors directly, and engaging in ongoing online discussions. Others step back, focus on work, and speak only occasionally. These different approaches can strongly influence how audiences interpret events. The more visible a person is during a controversy, the more attention they receive, which can sometimes lead to greater criticism regardless of what actually happened first. When people set aside emotions and examine the timeline carefully, the story becomes less clear-cut than many early discussions suggested. It appears that several issues were developing over an extended period, with different individuals making decisions that contributed to the eventual outcome. That does not necessarily mean that only one person made mistakes, but it does suggest that the situation cannot be fully understood by blaming a single moment. Another important point is that public backlash does not always equal complete accuracy. Online conversations often move faster than verified information, and early assumptions can remain popular even after new details emerge. Because of this, some observers believe that the widespread criticism directed at one person may reflect the power of early narratives rather than the full complexity of the timeline. Looking at the situation from a broader perspective shows that relationships can end for many reasons, including emotional distance, communication problems, and long-term disagreements that remain hidden from the public. By the time the outside world becomes aware of the conflict, many private decisions may already have been made. What the public sees is often only the final stage of a much longer story. In the end, the discussion may not truly be about jealousy, competition, or a single act of betrayal. Instead, it appears to involve timing, communication, and boundaries that may have shifted long before the public noticed. When earlier interactions and overlapping timelines are considered, the debate about who acted first becomes less certain. What remains clear is that the situation reflects the complexity of real relationships, which rarely fit into simple online narratives. As conversations continue, different people will interpret the events in different ways, depending on which details they believe are most important. Some will focus on public actions, while others will examine earlier timelines. Regardless of which perspective someone holds, the situation demonstrates how quickly online discussions can shape public opinion, and how important it is to look at the full sequence of events before forming strong conclusions. If you enjoy this kind of thoughtful breakdown and discussion, feel free to like the video, share your opinion in the comments, and subscribe for future conversations. Even if you disagree with parts of the analysis, your perspective adds to the discussion. An open dialogue helps everyone understand complicated situations more clearly.